Hello, I am Jan Worm, and I'm with the ArtTable Northern California chapter, and I am sheltering in Berkeley. Thank you all for your great patience in today's program and in joining us for our virtual Pecha Kucha. We had originally envisioned a joint project meeting with the Northwest chapter as a beginning of getting to know our neighboring colleagues and opportunities for collaboration. The COVID-19 pandemic has shifted the form of exchange and the means of gathering, but it has also highlighted the incredible resilience and perseverance of the members of our thoughtful and creative community. Please feel free to use the chat to share your experiences, your thoughts, your resources, and the Q&A option for questions, which we hope we'll be able to address. I'm certain that you will find great inspiration, we'll all find inspiration in our colleagues' presentations today, and that this will be stimulating and will be able to expand conception and vision in these challenging times. I'm very grateful to Seattle's Lori Cardoza, Gina Bose, Judith Reinhardt for jumping into today's event with us and with such enthusiasm, and to Jessica Landau, who'll be presenting the Northwest chapter members. Jessica.
Thank you so much, Jan. And I think we'll just jump right in. So our first speaker from Seattle is Emily Zimmerman. She is the director of Jacob Lawrence Gallery at UW. Emily?
Hi, thank you everyone. And thank you so much to Jan, Gina, and everyone at ArtTable for the invitation to present. It's so wonderful to be here with you all. I'm gonna share my screen quickly. So, the saying goes, necessity is the mother of invention. Today I wanted to tell you about an exhibition, Lux Eterna, that was comprised of commissions by contemporary artists for obsolete media platforms, produced in partnership between the Jacob Lawrence Gallery and the Northwest Film Forum. The exhibition asks the question, how do technological, economic, and cultural forces transform image production and perception over time? Originally, Lux Eterna was intended to take place at the Jacob Lawrence Gallery in August 2020, and then COVID-19 hit. Rather than simply cancel the exhibition or move it a year later, we decided to turn the project into a hybrid year-long research platform, as well as an in-person exhibition at the Jacob Lawrence Gallery next August. The research platform allowed us to do a few things. It allowed us to ask a series of broad, open-ended questions through the exhibition, inviting the audience into the curatorial process to host more educational programs over the course of the year. And what was most important to me was the ability to pay artists during the time frame that they are expecting payment. So this hybridized model allowed us to achieve things curatorially as well as administratively. And this is a link to the exhibition where you can see the projects that we've launched thus far. So the project now includes 12 artists, Zach Davis, Pierre Huyghe, Ariel Renee Jackson, and Michael Love, Dan Paz, Nori Sato, Stephanie Simek, Studio for Propositional Cinema, Aurora San Miguel, Lynn Seifert, Raphael Soldi, and Charles Stobbs. And we've begun launching some of the projects through the website. So this is Stephanie Simex, a singular post that if you go to the website, you simply fill out a form and you'll be mailed a kind of this commissioned publication in about 2 weeks. And then the second commission we've realized thus far is Studio for Propositional Cinema's Ancient Knowledge Survivalist Manifesto. And if you point your camera at this QR code, it'll go directly to the website, and I'll also leave it in the chat. And then finally, this is a full description of the show. We never anticipated, opening up the exhibition in this way, but I've found it an incredibly rich way to have a long-term conversation with an audience and with a set of artists that builds community through the exhibition making process. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Emily. We next have with us Lisa Dolby Chadwick of Lisa Dolby Chadwick Gallery in San Francisco. And Lisa is fabulous in bringing together poetry and painting. Lisa?
Hello, everybody. It's really an honor to be here today, and kind of ironic that I'm sitting here in Mexico because we actually continued our exhibition program since March, and we're about to install our 8th solo show. And this is the first day I've had a vacation. So it's great to be here with you guys. And if it was anybody else, I wouldn't be. I have to say, I love you, Jan. Thanks for organizing this. We have a long history of, since I started the gallery 25 years ago, of hosting literary and poetry events. And in the last 5 years, we've had 2 shows called Lightning Strikes, considering where does inspiration come from. And in that project, I asked poets to give us a poem, and then I paired them with an artist who created something in response to the poem, which is kind of unusual. Usually the poets are making something in response to the art. And it's been a really exciting project because I've become close with poets that I've adored for many years, and now we're collaborating with them or their estates, like Mary Oliver and Billy Collins and Gary Snyder and Ferlinghetti and Jack Hirschman and Brenda Hillman, Bob Haas, and then other people like Milosh, who Bob Haas translated. And so it's been a great love for the gallery. And in December, we hosted our second exhibition, and it's we publish a really beautiful book for these shows, and it's a fundraiser for the St. Mary's College for their literary department. So there's always a fundraising aspect to help support young writers. And I really appreciate that exchange and how important that poetry can create a doorway into the art. So at the beginning of being told that I needed to close the gallery, of course, for all of us, it was changing very fast. And in San Francisco, on Tuesday, I said to my staff, because most of them were commuting from the East Bay, I said, why don't you all drive in together instead of taking BART? And they said, really? I said, yeah, I think it's probably a good idea just to be safe. A few days before that, we had hosted an opening for Terry St. John, who's in his late 80s, and we had 150 people there, and we had just started the elbow thing, and so then to be 10 days later to be asked to close the gallery, it was obviously a shock. And so every day as that week was progressing, and on Thursday all the museums announced closure. On Friday all of the museums announced closure, and I still kind of thought, well, we can't close, we've got all these artists to support. And on Saturday I had a client meeting, and we held up this giant painting, and one of my staff members and I started to do a little dance behind it, and one of my clients took a film of that. And so every day I was crafting the new COVID email. Remember how we were all getting a million COVID emails at that time? And I said to you know, every day I was writing a new email about how we were going to function. It went from we'll have events with 50 people or less to we won't have events till we're closed. And I didn't want to send out another COVID email because I was tired of getting them, and we'd all heard the same thing over and over again. So I took that little video of us dancing behind the painting, and I just said a big painting, a little jig, and a poem. And I paired it with Naomi Shihab Nye's poem, So Much Happiness, which we had just used in December. And I thought I'd just send out this message. And I got so many responses back about what a relief it was to get a little moving, dancing painting and a poem by Naomi Shihab Nye. And I thought, oh, well, I think I'll do this for a couple more weeks while we shelter in place. And so we ended up doing 5 days a week, 90 art and poetry pairings. And I got messages every day and I was working every day while my staff was from home because we were installing a new exhibit every month. And I was in the gallery by myself, which was like the early years of the gallery. And, you know, we all have moved through this, and it's been such an arc of change. And so just cut me off. Am I past my limit, Jen? Are we?
I wasn't. Okay.
Anyway, long story short, a lot of people said, why don't you produce a book? And I was like, oh my gosh, you know, no way am I going to be able to produce a book. But then I thought of this idea, well, what if I use the book as a fundraiser to support a cause of people most affected by COVID? So it's about to come out. We just produced this book called Stay Inspired. And the whole series was called Stay Inspired. So every day you just get a poem and a painting. And now we have a 200-page hardcover tabletop book that'll be arriving in a couple of weeks. And we're doing an exhibit around it in December. And it's just going to be, what I love is that instead of page numbers, the book is actually the date that we sent out that original pairing. So you see the passage of time. And Devorah Major gave us a beautiful poem that we used to honor the death of George Floyd. And at the back of the book, it's also time-stamped with really personal messages that I got from people I didn't know from around the world. Like, thank you for this poem. My father died 2 days ago from COVID, and the poetry's meant so much. And sometimes I'd be scheduling the poems, you know, a week out, and then they'd come in, and it'd be the biggest gift to me too. It was exactly what I needed that day. So I'm just going to share a quick quote, and I'm sorry if I'm talking too long, but this is a Ken Wilber quote, and it goes, and I think this is exactly what we all do, and we have to remember. It's that great art suspends the reverted eye, the lamented past, the anticipated future. We enter with it into the timeless present. We are with God today, perfect in our manner and mode, open to the riches of the glories of a realm that time forgot, but that great art reminds us of, not by its content, but by what it does in us, suspends the desire to be elsewhere, and thus it undoes the agitated grasping in the heart of the suffering self and releases us, maybe for a second, maybe for a minute, maybe for all eternity, releases us from the coil of ourselves.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. Thank you so much.
That was beautiful, Lisa. Thank you so much. Next up, we're going to hear from Paula Stokes, who is an artist and also co-founder of Method Gallery in downtown Seattle.
Thanks, Jess. I'm going to put on my stopwatch because those who know me know how long-winded I am, and I get off track, so just give me a second. So greetings from Method Gallery in Seattle. I'm Paula, one of the co-founders, and I'm going to show some images. When we went into COVID in March, we had just opened an exhibition and by Alison Stegora. So we immediately kind of decided to, with the permission of the other artists that we had actually scheduled through the year, with their permission, we extended her show because we didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't realize it was going to extend for such a long period of time. Hopefully this will work. There's Alison with Kite. So our biggest concern really was to make sure that the artists that we had scheduled to exhibit at the gallery had the resources that they needed to actually execute their proposals. And for two of our artists that we actually had scheduled this summer, they both could no longer have access to their studio at Pottery Northwest. So there was this high sense of anxiety just because it was like, okay, will they be able to do it, and what can we do to help them to, to make sure that this will work? So we actually had a plan B set up for Ling Chong's exhibition, whose image I will show you now. And that was actually to make a model of the gallery. And the model of the gallery was such that she could actually make a miniature version of her exhibition if she needed to. Thankfully, that didn't need to happen, but that was our plan B. Here's Ling. It was a very successful exhibition with a lot of online content that she herself created. And it was brilliant, and I'm so impressed with her. And also the other artist whose work we showed this summer, Hanako O'Leary, who also was a resident at Pottery Northwest. And her original proposal was one where she was going to build this portal to the underworld out of ceramic, and couldn't. And instead, she actually hand crocheted this amazing portal out of jute, which represented this portal for her. And we ended up putting this in the gallery, which just actually, the show just ended last week. It was fantastic. It was really, really inspiring to see how these artists adapted their practices, and kind of, again, to speak about resilience and innovativeness, and kind of fantastic exhibition. So having said that, we have reopened Method as of July, but we are based on appointment only, and we have a fantastic online app that we can use, so people can just schedule the time to come in. We limited it, but they can cancel it at any time if they prefer. And we've actually had better visitorship than we've ever had on our regular hours than we've, in the past, to be honest, because people are specifically seeking out the exhibition to see it. So our numbers like that are pretty good. And the beauty of running a nonprofit that is absolutely 100% volunteer-based means that we have a very skimpy budget. And so we're able to actually stay open because nobody gets paid. I'm going to wrap it up now, but one other thing we did in the midst of COVID was we followed through with an open call that we made for our 2021 programming. And I'm happy to say that we've offered exhibitions and have filled our roster into early 2022, because we believe that it's really important that artists have the consistency and kind of trust in the institutions that have committed to showing their work. And we're very excited about that. And then in closing, I will say that we've also instituted in the absence of artist talks, we are actually trying to do a virtual program. And we bought a camera with our big budget, and we'll be posting that on our website. And then we're also going to start giving our artists an artist stipend towards their talks, which is something we couldn't afford in the past, but in the absence of receptions and having exhibition openings, we have a little bit of extra money. So we think that's really important, that artists get paid. It's not going to change their world, but it is, it's a gesture. And I think it's very important that we kind of think like that. And the final thing, which I'll close with, is here in Seattle, there's a program called Real Rent Duwamish, which is a program where we, as a lot of arts institutions, actually recognize that we are on the Duwamish tribes, tribal lands, the original peoples of Seattle. And a lot of institutions make reference to this when we do artist talks at the beginning of any kind of social programming. So we do that already, and it's on our website, but we also wanted to go one step further and actually make a financial contribution. And through our fiscal sponsor, Shunpike, we've been able to do that. And I think for all institutions, of my fellow people here, please think about doing that. Money is good. It's actually even better than just talking about, things that we respect. So I'm going to stop. I'm ranting and raving. I'm done. 4 minutes, sorry. Thank you all.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Paula. Thank you. That's amazing and so inspiring. We are now going to hear from Paula, if you could undo the screen share. Thank you. Our next presenter is Dorothy Davila, who is the Managing Director of the Headland Center for the Arts. And she went through a change, leaving one institution for another, and is here with us. Thank you, Dorothy.
Hi, Dan. Oh, thank you so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Dorothy, and I'm here today to share a little bit about making a career transition during COVID. My last job was at a multidisciplinary art center in San Francisco called the Yerba Buena Center for the Arts. otherwise known as YBCA. And there I led the exhibitions program and got the chance to work with some pretty amazing artists like Andrea Bowers, whose work is pictured here. During my years at YBCA, I was responsible for overseeing the curatorial and exhibition staff. And I got the chance to curate some shows myself, including this exhibition with Tom Sachs called Space Program Europa. But after nearly 7 years at YBCA, I was ready to take on a broader administrative role in the arts. Shortly after COVID shut the city down, I happened across a job posting that seemed perfect for me. It was a managing director role for the renowned artist residency program, Headlands Center for the Arts, located in the Marin Headlands just outside of San Francisco. Headlands provides a unique environment for the creative process and the development of new work and ideas in a stunning landscape, as you see here. The job was responsible for operations, finance, and human resources, serving as the right-hand woman to the executive director. However, Headlands was in a moment of transition, given COVID, the economic downturn, and the temporary closure of their facilities. Headlands was not unlike every other arts organization in the challenges they were facing. I had to speak to those challenges during the interview process, which was rigorous. I would get dressed up as if going to an interview and felt all the same nerves, only to have a series of virtual encounters in which I had no idea how well I was performing. In the end, I had a phone screen, several Zoom interviews with board and staff, completed a 6-question homework assignment, gave an all-staff presentation, and met the facilities director for a socially distanced tour of campus. At last, I was thrilled to accept an offer from Headlands. One of my earliest challenges was to forge new bonds with the team over Zoom. To start, I met one-on-one with everybody with no agenda. I simply invited the staff to tell me about their experiences at Headlands. One of the things I kept hearing from the staff was that none of the usual Headlands magic had been happening since COVID. That is, dinners in our mess hall where artists and visitors gather over delicious food, convenings of creative practitioners and thinkers, local, national, and international artists living and working on premises. My first 90 days have been peppered with comments like, "This isn't the real Headlands." But as I've been finding, the real Headlands is an organization in the process of transformation. Since I've joined, Headlands has faced a tremendous amount of change. We've lost some employees, including our longtime executive director. We swiftly moved our annual benefit auction to an online format and have unveiled an exciting new programmatic direction. In fact, the new Headlands is emerging stronger than ever, more nimble, lean, and poised to continue to fulfill our mission far into the future. While very different from my last gig, my new job allows me to have an impact on the actual process of art making, or the step before the work lands on the walls of the museum. And I am very grateful for this unique opportunity to manage the Headlands resources in support of that mission. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorothy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dorothy. And next up, we have Kira Burge, and she is currently the president of Shumpike's Board of Directors, and also most recently the director of the Seattle Art Fair.
Unmuting, changing presenter views, all the things. Okay, I think you are seeing what you should be seeing. You do not see my notes, correct?
Correct.
Thumbs up. Okay, perfect. So thank you. I'm so pleased to be here and to be part of ArtTable. March 6th, I began working from home. By April, I was having conversations with museums and convention spaces about where to buy large quantities of hand sanitizer and touchless ticketing. At the same time, I was connecting with artists and independent producers, galleries, and fair directors. Surface level discussions became candid, asking how can we use this experience, the pandemic, as a catalyst to revise expectations of our patrons and our audience. In June, I convened a community of 80+ independent artists, producers, and small organizations, all within the Shumpike ecosystem. We met weekly. The community drove the conversation, found collaborative solutions. How to deter Zoom bombing, how to monetize online content, how to sanitize upholstery, what does phase 2 mean? And identified questions we needed expert help to answer. One of many topics we tackled as a direct result of the Shumpike Working Group or the legal ins and outs of copyright, licensing, and fair use in the context of online streaming. To reach more artists and organizations, we partnered with Washington Lawyers for the Arts and the City of Seattle. The impact reverberated. This innovative work that we did as a collaborative community will forever be with us. It will serve us as a roadmap for the future, for future challenges, and I'm confident we'll draw upon this collective strength as we heal and continue to reimagine our sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Kira. Thank you. We next have Julie McRae of Show Fine Arts. Julie is a gallerist in Berkeley and the founding member of Commotion West Berkeley, organized for crowdfunding projects like murals, community gardens, and public art and pop-up art events. Julie.
That's a lot. Hi, everybody. Good morning. Yeah, Show Gallery has been running for 5 years now, but in the past year, we've started doing 2 openings and 2 shows a month. So we were getting a nice rhythm going, and then COVID happened. The last show that we had an opening for was actually Jan's show, and the title of her show was All That We Have Had and All That We Will Lose. So she was very prescient in the titling of her show. Anyway, that was our last opening. That was Saturday night. And then by Tuesday, it was St. Patrick's Day, and that was the day they started saying, you need to stay inside, you need to stay home. We had another show scheduled for the next Saturday night. It was a muralist and public art space person, and we had 3 different events planned where people were going to come in to actually watch him paint a mural in the gallery. Obviously, he was painting by himself. By the next week, he was actually asking if he could just go to the gallery to hang out because he has a 3-year-old, and he needed to get away to paint. So we had an artist alone in the gallery with no one else at that point. But because we had to shut everything down, after a few days, it was sort of, there was that feeling, I'm sure we've all had it, that feeling of, what do we do now? Where are we going? And we quickly changed directions into, we need to do something, and the only thing we could do would be online. So a call was put out to, an open call actually, to any artists that we've worked with for a show called How to Breathe, because we thought that's kind of what we need to do at the moment. And we got an amazing response from artists sending in work. And we got an amazing response from people who just wanted to see art. We recreated our website and made a virtual gallery. We had one section where it actually scrolls through the artwork, and so a person can just sit in front of their computer and sort of pretend we even invite them to just stroll through the gallery that way. We had people calling in and saying, sorry, having a hard time this morning. But yeah, we had people calling in and we'd say, go ahead, get yourself a glass of wine, get yourself, a little snack, stroll through the gallery, see that. We did that for a few months, and then we reopened in June. And we've been open since then, and we have social distancing, and anyway, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Julie.
Thank you.
And next from Seattle, we have Marge Levy, who is a ceramics artist on the Artist Trust Board.
Well, when I was thinking about what I was going to tell you today, I saw that Kamala Harris was asked, what did she really stand for? What was one thing she could say? And I made my own screen share here because I couldn't figure out how to do it. But during these times, you need to keep on keeping on. Now, I have become an expert in keeping on because I've been, what they say, retired for 20 years. But that doesn't stop me because there are 4 things I love to do. I love scuba diving in the South Pacific, in Southeast Asia. It's warm. I won't go in Seattle, it's too cold. I love arts organizations because they support people. They support what's going on. I love to teach. I was a university professor for many years, and so I get that taken care of as a docent, but that's been turned off now for a while. And then I love to make art. So with my 4 things there, that's how I cocoa. And finally, after many, many years, I have become wise. And my work is about being wise. So I keep on working with organizations. I work with ArtTable, and I'm on the board there and on a couple of committees. And you know, all organizations have periods of change and culture and, you know, personnel and fundraising. And I've been on the phone once a week with that since March, when things exploded a little. They've all, you know, after explosions comes a beautiful calm, and we're in a calm now. I'm very involved in a community ceramic studio that has everything from little kids to professionals kind of like me, who I don't want to build a whole studio in my house. And besides, I love the people. But this hockey team moved in next to the studio, and I am reluctant but pleased to announce that we will be moving. Where? We do not know. But we are using this as a really good opportunity for long-range planning, for reinventing some of our programming. And we are doing well during the pandemic. We've set up 30 studios in the Pottery since we can't teach classes. So I have my own studio, and it's lovely. I love fundraising. It's an opportunity to give people an opportunity to be good and to do good and to contribute. So I'm working with the National Art Media Association and SICA, a ceramic organization, and I'm helping them reimagine and how they're going to pay for it and how they are going to get people who stuck with them for 40 years like me to stick their hands in their pockets, stick around, and let the organization with their support keep being sticky for everybody. And then finally, I'm in the studio, I'm in the pool, I swim 4 times a week, and I Zoom with my family. And this is just a new cup that came out of, let me see if you can see it well. It just came out of the kiln last week. And I was trying artistically to deal with a very stable, substantial form, which is what I am and what we all are, but trying to deal with the chaos that we are seeing at the same time. So putting stability and chaos together, there are beautiful aspects to it. So that is what I would like to contribute today. I hope that everyone else will also cocoa. You know, if it feels great, it just feels great. And I wanted to share that with you. Getting old is great. There we are. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Marge. And I love this idea that fundraising is an opportunity to enable others to feel good about what they're doing. And I think that's really important. Thank you so much. We're next going to hear from Terry Cohn. And Terry is an independent art historian, curator, writer, art critic, and educator. Terry?
Just opening my screen. Okay, can you all see it?
We can see the screen and we can see you.
Okay, good. And you can't see anything else? Just confirming.
No embarrassing emails or photographs.
Okay, good. Hi, everybody. So, on the horizon, considering sea level rise and climate change. One of the highlights of my creative life this year has been working on the project On the Horizon. The project was envisioned by artist Ana Teresa Fernandez and addresses the impact of sea level rise and climate change. Imagine an installation of 16 6-foot-high acrylic resin cylinders filled with seawater standing at the edge of the ocean. You walk among them and appreciate the beauty of the suspended aqueous terrain as it refracts muted daylight. Later, as the sun sets on the horizon, the columns become illuminated from below, mysterious and inspiring in their material beauty. The sense of wonder is replaced by a growing understanding of the artist's intentions as waves break progressively higher on the beach, shifting the experience to a physical reminder that as the tides ebb and flow each day, global sea level is also rising. During fall 2020, Ana Teresa Fernandez will inaugurate a participatory installation on the horizon at San Francisco's Ocean Beach. Her intention is to materially and metaphorically represent the impact of climate change that is on the world's horizon. The project addresses the environmental impact of greenhouse gas emissions and international researchers' predictions that global temperatures will increase by as much as 9 degrees by the year 2100. This accelerating ecological condition will precipitate a sea level rise of more than 6.6 feet, the approximate height of the seawater-filled columns affecting coastal areas locally and globally. On the Horizon is imagined as a collective endeavor, something shared that will be internalized and meaningful for participants. Fernandez's work is rooted in a historical lineage of artists that seek to mobilize and enact spaces of learning that are socially and relationally dynamic. She views those who take part as, quote, active citizens having real concern about the subject at hand. Her use of metaphoric water-filled pillars allows for radical speculations about how the future might be constituted. The convening of speculative and playful conversations between individuals who would not generally speak together can be potentially transforming, with props taken seriously as performative knowledge-making. By requesting the individual's participation in reimagining the future, Fernandez is asking them to acknowledge their own beliefs and feelings about sea level rise and to create dialogue and share stories, creatively envisioning how we can take action to begin to disrupt climate change in order to envision the future we want to create. She describes her vision that hopefully we can evolve to become more aware and proactive on our own and nature's behalf, remembering that we have agency to make change. When individuals take a selfie in front of it and post it on social media, I hope they will see the possibility of their actions as needed to create that future. You can see more at onthehorizon.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry.
Terry, that was so powerful. And I was going to mention next up, we have Allison Kramer, most recently from Chihuly Studios, who is on the Pottery Northwest board.
Hello, good morning. I thought I'd mention I've been a member of ArtTable for a few years, but it was on my radar since the 25th anniversary. And it's appropriate that I come shortly after Marge, as I met her then, happened to be seated next to her at a luncheon. Here we are 15 years later in a different city, the same city now. And it's really just great to see the progression from school and what ArtTable is about and leading towards mentorship and leadership in the visual arts. So as Jeff said, most recently I was with Chihuly Studio, but before that I've worked for three different galleries in Seattle, 2 museums, one large performing arts organization, and then of course the private studio of artist Dale Chihuly. And I will start my screen share here with you all. There we go. And so in the theme of today, redirect really resonated with me. I'm tired of the word pivot, so redirect is a good one. And I thought I'd choose to illustrate that, sorry, probably seeing me there too, with a Japanese print, a detail of it. And part of what I'm here to do too is acknowledge some of those who have given me a hand up in my career, and with the hopes that I think it's also a duty to do the same for others. And that's something that I am spending this time trying to do. So this is a print from 1835 and one that I had the fortune of dealing with in my time. There we are, sorry. So yeah, going along through the first half of the year, working in private sales for the private studio of Dale Chihuly. So a nice little note, Dale preemptively gave me a nice reference, maybe portending that it was time for me to start doing something else. Although the first 6 months of the year, I was working harder than ever in that job. I'd been in for about 5 years, and actually having my most successful period during that tenure selling art. I felt good leaving at its apex for an enviable position with another wonderful company in the Seattle area. Unfortunately for me, that coincided with a dear friend's passing, and then a second friend's passing as well. And I was also involved with another friend who was facing a terminal illness, and I had the opportunity to be part of the circle of caregivers for that third friend who eventually went into hospice care and unfortunately passed away earlier this week. So Dale has been a big part of many of our careers in Seattle. Wanted to give that acknowledgement there, but also to some of especially the women leaders who have given me opportunities in my career. I bumped into one last year, and this is something that started before COVID, but I've tried to take through up to and beyond too. I bumped into this woman who founded this museum in Seattle nearly 30 years ago, maybe it's more than 30 years ago now. Anyhow, Marianne Forsblad, and she is now, I think she's 82 in that photo, now retired. At that, she hired me for my first museum role out of graduate school to work on a $50 million capital campaign. That's a big risk to take on someone. I think it's important to remind ourselves that we need to keep helping others up and give them that hand up when possible. This woman hired me when I was 19 years old, but work brought me to South Florida each year, and I made a point of stopping and speaking with her. And in part, not only did she take a risk on someone at 19 in a gallery, but she also taught me so much and was really generous with that I brought to my job 20 years later. Then have to show Carolyn Staley. Carolyn Staley, Fine Japanese Prints. That first slide was of a print from Carolyn. This shows her, I took her out to her 85th birthday just before COVID hit. And she's someone I've stayed in touch with since that time. She's by herself at home here in Seattle. She is probably she was one of the most difficult employers to work for, and also one of the most rewarding to work for. And I bring her up also because I think she's someone who really redirected her own career in middle age and went on to become one of the foremost dealers of Japanese prints outside of Japan. So she brought me with her to art fairs from Park Avenue to the LA County Museum to art auctions in Tokyo, and openly shared so much about her business. Again, I think I acknowledge it makes a difference to give others a hand up along the way. And I think there's a point in which you realize it's your turn to do the same for others. So one of the ways, I just love how many times Pottery Northwest has come up today. Thank you very much, everyone. I do serve on the board of Pottery Northwest. I've been the vice president for the last 2 years. And you know, we're widening the circles, sharing opportunities with others, that sort of thing. This is an organization who you know, is looking for its board to grow too. There are opportunities with it, so another plug there. But some of the other things I've done during this time and have been a pivot that I wasn't sure I would be taking, but I'm giving a plug to my mother here too. Just last month, my mother's 41-year-old business of Scandinavian antiques, that's her shown there with a variety of the types of work that she offers. It had its first online offering ever, taking part in a virtual antique show. So here are the kinds of things that she shows. And So one other thing in my educational background, I have a master's degree in arts administration, but before going back to graduate school, I went to culinary school. And I feel like had I not done that at 22, I might not have. Well, here's about, let's say 20 years later, and I'm doing the next of those types of things. I'm just enrolled in Emily Post Institute's business etiquette training course. So we'll see what comes out of that, but it's certainly a time to take risks. One of those people I'd call out, for example, who's been doing a great job of that in our city is Judith Reinhardt with her eponymous gallery. So I'll just end with stay tuned and stay in touch. Here's where to find me. I look forward to seeing what everyone else does next out of this. And not sure what mine will be yet either, but we'll be in touch. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Allison. That's so wonderful, Allison. We're next going to hear. Oh.
I wanted to show the artwork behind me to highlight as well. A beautiful friend of ours, many of us, the one who just passed, Greg Owen, the glass mask below, and a fabulous artist. This is a cameo engraving of Coco Chanel, and in part, the title of it. The title of it is, I don't care what you think about me, I don't think about you at all. And sometimes that's an okay thing to just use as a mantra these days, right? Like, do your own thing.
Thank you, Allison, and thank you for that wonderful tribute. It was really, really important to continue to remember all those who've gone before us and helped us get where we are today. We're next going to hear from Gina Werfel, who is a professor of art at the University of California, Davis. And Gina, I hope you're in with us.
Hi, everybody. I'm at SF MoMA for the first time since February, and I hope I don't get yelled at for taking my mask off. But Jan asked me to talk about what was it like to teach studio art online, and we had pretty much spring break to figure out how to just reinvent how to teach art to undergraduates. So I was scheduled to teach a figure painting class last spring without models, without any in-person contact. And I had a TA who really became a partner for me rather than me teaching her. I mean, we still had that, but we went in not, back in March, nobody knew what this new world was going to be like. And to my surprise, the students were so hungry for contact. It became kind of exciting. We were all in it together. But flash forward, here we are, fall, and I'm teaching beginning drawing to a group of freshmen, 25 of them. And it's really forced me to rethink how I convey what I know, what I think is fundamental. How do you teach young 20-year-olds to critically see what they're looking at when you can't be next to them and help them see more critically? So I've really had to just rethink every concept that I'm trying to get across. And there are a couple of positives to Zooming. And one is there's a kind of intimacy and frankness when I use breakout rooms to talk to a student about their work. But we've been told, be really conscious of students' mental health. And students have revealed things to me one-on-one that they never would have had the agency to do in a classroom where everything is public. On a more positive note, so that's positive, and I feel like I'm getting to know my students, even though I may never meet them in real life. The other thing that's really been fabulous for a campus like Davis, trying to teach students to be aware of contemporary and the history of art, is there is so much going on the web. Like the Brooklyn Rail has been my favorite go-to now. They have lunchtime conversations with really well-known artists, lesser-known artists, and I can just send that link to my students. But something I was mentioning to Jan the other day, I realized with a little bit of help from undergraduate enrichment funds, I can take my class to a friend's studio in Boston. And most of these students have never thought about what is it like to be an artist. Oh, you have a studio. I took them to Christopher Brown's studio last spring, and they're like, does everybody have that big a studio? I mean, it's just, it has created an intimacy, but at the same time, I feel so despondent. I so want to go back to having the energy of the classroom and the energy. These kids are never going to get to know each other the way they do in person. So I hope the bonds that I'm forming right now, I had a question about students' work like 10 minutes before I left for San Francisco this morning. You know, there's a 24/7 aspect to online teaching. I love it at 10 o'clock at night when I see that somebody's uploaded a work in progress. Whereas in-person teaching, you know, 3 days would go and I wouldn't see their work. So despite my fear that this will go on too long, there have been good points to it. So thank you. I'm going to get back to the David Park Show now.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you so much.
How lovely was that? Thank you, Gina. It's so cool that you were there. Next up, and I wanted to just mention that we only have 6 participants left, and we'll probably try to keep everybody on a good time schedule so that we can complete our meeting within an hour. So please, you guys, if you don't mind setting your stopwatch and making sure you're conscious a little bit about time. Next up, we do have Donna Davies, who is currently the Deputy Director of Pilchuck Glass School, who just had a very successful auction. And she also was, I think, the director at SOFA Chicago.
Thanks, Jess. Thanks for having me, everybody. I'm going to share my screen here. Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Great.
Okay, awesome. So I just wanted to give you guys a bit of background about Pilchuck if you don't know enough, and I will get into the auction, which Jess graciously mentioned. Pilchuck is an international center for glass art education. We are located 50 miles north of Seattle, nestled in the beautiful foothills of the Cascade Mountains amidst a working tree farm. From May through September every year, we offer a series of courses as well as residencies for established artists in all media. And classes are taught by world-renowned artists and instructors who emphasize experimentation and teamwork while fostering individual initiative and expression. Our sessions run 8 to 18 days. Each session is comprised of 4 to 6 concurrent courses in a variety of processes. Each course is limited to 10 to 12 students, so as a result, it's a very hands-on, immersive experience. We have a variety of courses we offer besides just hot glass. We've got kiln casting, sand casting, neon, mosaic, pâte de verre, stained glass, and more. We would normally have run our 6 program sessions this year on our campus from May through September. We canceled our entire year of programming, which resulted in a loss of nearly 65% of our annual revenue. And it also caused the loss of the ability for our community to gather. Our administrative offices are located and our exhibition space are located in Seattle. March 5th was First Thursdays in Pioneer Square and the opening for Riley Donovan's show here that you see. And it was the beginning of COVID. It was a very low attended opening. And on March 16th, we closed all of our offices and began working from home. Like most, we made the pivot to virtual panel discussions, but this year was just the beginning of the twists and turns that were to more of which were to come. In July, we worked collaboratively with Sarah Traver and her gallery to show this ambitious body of work by Joe Rossano. It represents 1/8 of a journey to the project's completion. This is 60 life-size blown tusks that represent nearly 1/8 of the total number of elephant tusks illegally harvested every day. This represented our first shift by working collaboratively with a commercial gallery. Also in July, we rented out our hot shop on campus to Glassy Baby after the closing of their Bay Area studio. We worked collaboratively on COVID protocols and how to blow glass safely during a pandemic. This was our second shift due to the pandemic. But most importantly, we helped Glassy Baby get artists back to work, and we forged a great working relationship with their team. Our final shift was our virtual auction. We have a 3-person development team who leads our auction work, and 2 of the 3 went out on maternity leave this spring. I immediately switched my focus to running the auction, given my background running art fairs, and we had a hybrid scenario of 2 days of walkthroughs, 2 virtual previews, party boxes, and 50% less artwork, which occurred last Saturday. We lowered our expectations from last year when we did 1.2 million, but we exceeded our goals, our lowered goals for this year, and we made 1.1 million. This will forever change the way we approach our auctions moving forward. Our 50th anniversary is next year, and we're hopeful to resume our programs and exciting anniversary plans. While I called this a shift, it really was just emptying out all of the contents of the box and reimagining what went back in that box. There is a new road ahead, and we are up to the challenge. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you. Next, we have Anne Trinka, who is an independent art consultant, curator, and artist management advocate. Anne.
Hi, all. Hi, Jan. Thanks so much for inviting me. And it's just so inspiring to see how everyone is coping with this year. A couple of years ago, I did stop working for organizations. I've been with museums and galleries for like 20 years. And I thought, I just really want to help emerging artists, and I want to use all the tools that I gained working for nonprofits to really just individually one-on-one become a coach, which is kind of a new thing. I don't know a lot of people doing it. And right now I have about 10 artists and a couple of venues that I consult for. So this year, you know, with everything closing down, not only did I have to reimagine things, but I had to reimagine them for all my clients, and trying to teach them as well to apply for emergency grants, do virtual shows. We had to figure out how to do a 360 tour of a gallery, which I've never done before. So I think we should all do this, you know, like pat ourselves on the back and just be grateful that we've been able to use our creative powers to get around things. I did want to share, just for a visual, my website, which has been sort of the, let's see, can everyone see that?
Not yet.
There it is. Yeah. Okay. So it's been sort of my home base, and I've just been teaching myself all these skills, which I'm quite proud of. And I know you guys are doing it too. But so with my coaching, I started doing this blog once a month on a certain theme of artists' careers, selling and grant writing and promoting yourself and dealing with social media, all that stuff. And I've also been curating. I did a show at Bedford Gallery called The Great Wave, and it opened in January, but then it kind of got stuck in limbo and just stayed open all the way through June, and then we finally closed it. But that, you know, was another learning experience. And then, you know, in March, I was like, we have nowhere to see art. So I decided to start this thing, which I call Perch, which is an online art store, which I hope you guys will maybe go back after this talk and check out some of these things. And then the last thing, which I just did with a friend in New York, was curated my own virtual art show with some of the artists that I've been working with, the artists that I represent on Perch, and it's called Wild Tangents, and it's gonna premiere November 5th. You guys can get a little sneak preview here, but it's my first attempt at a virtual show, and it is also the East Coast and the West Coast. You can click in and see all this stuff. So, you know, I just wanted to say the year's been challenging, but I feel really positive that the art world is becoming less elitist. We're all focusing on becoming more diverse and more democratic. And so in ways, I hope that we can shake off some of the old guard, having to rely on wealthy patrons or corporate sponsorships, and that we can take things into our own hands and emerge as more resilient.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you.
Sure.
Wonderful, Anne. And I think you have a question in the chat if you have a chance to take a look. Really good question. I think we'd all like to know. Next up from Seattle, we have Lauren Gallo, who has been her writing has been widely published, and she is currently the editorial chair of Arcade.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, everyone. I'm so happy to be here and just see all of your faces. So 2020 has been a year for me, as I'm sure for everybody, but it was the year that I decided to fully go freelance with my writing. And so I left my job in the fall of 2019. I was working in an architecture firm previously, and it was a very stable kind of position. And I thought, well, now or never. And so that started in January in earnest. I started really working on my freelance career and trying to build that up and what that looked like. And then COVID hit. And so it's been this year of just kind of, the way I've been thinking about it is just kind of following the breadcrumbs and seeing where the opportunities lead me, because I didn't really know what it was going to look like. And so I just wanted to share my, my Instagram, because this has kind of been a place where I've been able to look back at the year and just see what I've done. And a lot of things I never thought I would do or expected I would do, but opportunities that just kind of came my way. And I think a theme that has been coming up in all of our talks so far has been this idea of invention or reinvention. And I think in the art world especially, it's this moment of redefining what we do and what it looks like and who our audiences are and how we're engaging with them. And to me, that's a really powerful thing and an exciting thing. And so one thing that I did during the pandemic was this live streamed art walk called By the Hour. So we knew that we couldn't do our first Thursday art walks anymore. And so a couple of friends and I got together and decided, okay, well, we're going to live stream it and visit galleries virtually and take people through what's going on in our arts community and find ways to connect with them. And so that was really exciting and just something I never thought I would do. I never thought I would host a live stream show, but it was exciting and fun. And I just had a lot of other writing opportunities come up along the way. Arcade has been such a great organization. It's a 40-year-old organization that's devoted to hosting inclusive and insightful dialogue on the design environment. And this was a year where we really pushed our digital publication and found ways to offer that content digitally in a way that we never had the reason to push for before. And I've had a lot of freelance writing opportunities. I was able to write for Dwell magazine for the first time, which was something that I had dreamed about for years and years and years, and that finally came to fruition. I didn't think it was going to get published because it happened, the article was supposed to come out in May, and then everything got delayed, and it finally came out this month. So it's just been a year of just rolling with the punches, and I think finding ways to address what the needs of our community are and asking people what they need, finding ways to give that to them. So yeah, I'm excited to see what's next for everybody, and I'm excited to see where we go from here. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Lauren. So wonderful. Everything is so exciting. We have Joyce Hulbert with us, and Joyce is a textile conservator. I saw her right there for a moment.
Oh, great, great.
Joyce.
Hi, everyone. Boy, it's great to see. Share, okay. It's great to hear all these things out in the public. I'm gonna, by my work as a conservator, I'm gonna take you a little bit more kind of under the magnification glass, but during COVID sheltering, when everything came to a halt, I luckily had some, several projects in the studio that I was able to work on. A conservation project to clean, conserve, and mount a large 1870 trophy flag belonging to the San Francisco Yacht Club became a 3-month project instead of one. The new clubhouse under construction closed, and the plastics business I was making my big UV filtering frame was only prioritizing COVID-related projects, and art movers weren't installing. So I took the initiative to offer additional services to add value to the project and give me something to do that I love to do. since I work with historic textiles, a process I specialize in is reintegration, where you build into the mount a very complex but discrete infill to fill that lacunae and allow people to be able to see the object in its completeness. So here's the pinning out of that project. And I'm sorry, I just went backwards. There we are, and there's the finished project. And also that was a part of my original proposal that the client chose not to go forward with, and they were very happy to have me give them that opportunity. And it was just a way of, in the moment of all of our suffering, to say, let's do something great and spend some time on it. I also had a beautiful, and I'm including it because it's so dazzling, it's a Tanzania, it's a wedding skirt of leather and beads for the Crockers Art Museum's Asian, African, and Oceanic collection. So I got to work on that during this time too. Like many of us, I had downtime, so I was emptying all of my files and things no longer. I photographed my work over 30 years as a conservator, and so I kind of laid them all out and looked at them again, which was a blast. And I'm also an artist, so I'm working on my series, Interstitial. And then a great opportunity happened because a facility was closed. Since 2017, I've been a federal contractor working with the Arts and Architecture Department of the General Services Administration, their region here in San Francisco. And 3 works are out at the Frank Hagel Federal Building in Richmond, California. And I'm also building a history around the California textile art movement, but I got to go into a closed facility and clean 3 major textile artworks. This is Ginge Lackey with Inner Glyphs Out. So the building was built in 1976. So these pieces have been on permanent display since that time. Here is Janet Kummerling's Odyssey. That piece is 62 inches by 360 inches. Here is Leah Cook's Spatial ECOT 3, and that's 120 inches by 270 inches. And Ginge Lackey's piece in progress, and me working there. I was able to remove 1/4 pound of dust from Inner Glyphs Out, and it was part of my way of being able to get into a space and work on some artworks that I really love. So thank you for letting me share this work.
Thank you so much, Joyce. Thank you.
Thank you. That's so amazing. And next up from Seattle, we have Kathleen Warren, who's the co-founder of Overall Creative.
Okay, so I am Kathleen Warren. I'm the co-founder of a company called Overall Creative. We founded a 1.5 years ago, and my darling better half, Lena, is featured here as the top photo. We founded it because we were so stoked to have a woman-run mural company in a world that is so male-dominated by street artists that are male. So here we are. This year has been really interesting for us because we kept working and we were a relatively new company, but we transitioned to painting on plywood because the whole city boarded up. It was just like businesses leaving or shutting down because of the timeline. So what I want to share with you tonight is the timeline. So these are just images. So March 31st, we had shutdown orders. A lot of our friends that had bars and restaurants and businesses had to board up and stop working. And so we started getting a lot of questions from artists and businesses like, hey, there's all this canvas here, what should we do? And I just thought everyone would figure it out. Like, paint your own plywood. I don't know what you want from me. And then I realized, like, actually, this is a citywide thing. This is a citywide problem. There's a lot of canvas, a lot of this happening. So April 1st, Lena and I painted the first 2 plywood boarded up places in Pioneer Square as part of their pilot program to pay artists that were local to make art on the places that were boarded up. So they had a really robust, amazing program, and we were really excited to be part of it. Ballard simultaneously had their own program going on. Different neighborhoods had their own things going on. So we were just like part of the conversation as much as we could be. This is our friend's Mexican restaurant. Neither of us like how our butts look in these pants. We'll go through this. And then come May, I think that all of us thought that like the plywood would go away. That like there was this mandatory 2-week boarding up thing. And that after 2 weeks, we could like unboard and go back to business. But that was totally wrong, obviously. So the rest of the city started boarding up, and we continued to get inquiries from neighborhoods or small business owners. Some had money and some didn't. And we found a balance between funded projects and unfunded projects and making everything work and getting artists up on walls that like had never had a mural before, because why not now? Because this is the time to try and fail. So we did over 50 between April and May. And by did, I mean facilitated. So I did a lot of this, planning, a lot of texting. I was like an air traffic control lady. I was like, artist, wall, yes, make it happen. And then I did a lot of priming. I'm pretty sure I primed over a football field worth of walls in May. So in May, the messages were of safety, and so you are not alone was a big message. Like, we were really thinking about depression and loneliness. Call your mom was a big thing. A lot of muralists wanted that to be their message, which I think is amazing. Stay home, eat snacks, one of my favorites. So then the murder of George Floyd happened, and subsequently a lot of terrible other injustices like Breonna Taylor. So the landscape of the public art realm turned towards justice. It wasn't safety in health, it was justice. And so we watched that change. And we worked with artist Barry Johnson to do an erasing of the Black man that's on 6th and Union, that if you haven't experienced in person, you should totally experience. It's beautiful. And then we didn't have anything to do with this, but I think it's an important milestone. Vivid Matter Collective founded like their collective based on this street mural they did, which was then kind of vandalized, and then the city invested in making it permanent. So now it's like barricaded and it's like a permanent feature of our city. So it's a big public art milestone. July, we started kind of thinking like maybe things will unboard because all of the bars and restaurants have outdoor seating, everything's going great, da da da. We started talking about what do we do with the plywood art when it comes down? And we started talking to Mopop and various other cultural institutions about like acquiring it so they can talk about like the terrible year of 2020 and here's what it looked like. And yeah, so to summarize the present, there's still so much being boarded up. So much opportunity. For example, all of downtown looks like this right now. But the highlight is that there's a book that has been published about like a lot of the murals that went up. So if you want to revisit these things and learn about the artist statements and everything, that's the thing that you can do down in Pioneer Square. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Kathleen. Oh gosh. Jeannie Craig is an art collection management professional and an appraiser.
Thank you, Jan. I'm so excited to be part of today. It's just been so inspiring. As Jan said, I'm an appraiser of art, modern and contemporary, and I am a fairly new member of ArtTable. I just signed up in January 2020. And in listening to everyone today, I can see that art sustains all of us. It has always been my inspiration and solace, and it is a marvelous and essential antidote to everything, the news, whatever. So I'm just going to quickly abbreviate my presentation. You know, I've been watching so many virtual presentations by curators and artists, you know, because I work at home alone in my office. And while the world is opening up a little bit, I think the museums and galleries are going to continue with their virtual programming because they've reached such a broad audience. And I hope that's going to translate into more people walking into museums and more people coming into galleries and buying artwork. And it just kind of deepens the experience of seeing the art in person. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you. This has been a presentation of so much exciting, brilliant thinking and energy that everyone has that they're bringing to this situation that we're all facing. I am so happy to have come to know our colleagues in Seattle. This has really been a wonderful way of coming together, even though the real thing will have to wait a while, I'm afraid. Thank you to everyone who's come to share your experiences and your vision with us. I'm so grateful that we have ArtTable to bring us all together. And I know that it is a difficult time that is stressful for almost everyone with these changes and adaptations that we've all had to make. But for those of you who could continue to support ArtTable through your membership, for those who've lapsed to come back to the fold, we miss you. We want you to rejoin us. Those who are guests, to visit the website and see the amazing activities and involvements of our members, and to join us also. I hope that you will find other programs that intrigue you. I hope that you'll bring inspiration from all these presentations today, and that you will stay safe and well. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Just so you guys know, ArtTable has actually introduced, or they're about to unroll like a new tier of membership too. So stay tuned for that. And also we're gonna have a little holiday party virtual, but stay tuned for that too, everyone. And NorCal, thank you so much for having us. It was really
such all joining in. Thank you. It's wonderful being together. Bye. Thank you. Bye.